Venezuela will be commanded by an American puppet, and we will get to do whatever the fuck we want to do with Venezuelan assets, Venezuelan resources, and therefore we will have won.
Of politics as normal. So it's hard, extremely difficult.
Why are we still explaining this in 2025? Because I'm only one person. And not only am I one person, but I'm one person with a position that is rarely ever represented in American media in general. And when represented, it meets a lot of fucking aggression, even from people who are self-described progressives, self-described leftists. And when I push back on the naysayers, those self-described leftists become self-described haters.
To parse what the actual intentions are.
So let's talk about Venezuela having the world's largest oil reserves. It's under threat from the United States, and followed by Colombia. On Wednesday, President Trump threatened Colombian President Petro.
Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up, or he'll be next. He'll be next, too.
But don't worry, guys. When Donald Trump inevitably moves on to Colombia, I'm sure there will be like a half-hearted response to how Gustavo Petro has actually ruined Colombia. And then you guys will fucking lap that shit up, too. You'll be like, oh, well, I'm a Colombian living in the United States of America, and I think Gustavo Petro needs to be forcibly taken out of power. Why won't they actually put in charge a reasonable person, you know? And then you can tell me about how leftistly this is the right thing to do.
And I hope he's listening. He's going to be next.
I hope he's listening, he says about Petro. He is going to be next. He also brought in narco trafficking. It's important to note that in this past week, he pardoned a major narco trafficker, right? The former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was sentenced in a U.S. court to 45 years in prison, served about a year of that, accused of bringing in, using all the levers of the Honduran state, military, police, helping to facilitate 400 tons of cocaine into the United States. So talk about Colombia. And
I mean, Colombia has been nothing if not a stable partner for the United States in terms of drug interdiction. It continues to be a major oil drug producer and exporter, although Ecuador has now become far more. And of course, Ecuador has a friendly ally to the Trump administration as president currently, and so they're not talking about Ecuador. But you know what this demonstrates is that it's certainly on the part of Trump, but also on the part of Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, and others in the U.S. government. Venezuela is not the only target. It's other Latin American governments, and questions about narco-terrorism are really subterfuge claims, in fact, to get rid of leftist governments in the region. Right? This is what we see with Colombia. We've seen other threats to Mexico as well, which has a leftist government as well. So this has a lot to do with ideology, despite the claims that it's impact about drugs.
before you go, I wanted to ask you about what is a national story, but also has international significance. This Miami mayoral race, Florida voters electing a Democratic mayor and the first woman, for the first time, a Democratic mayor in 30 years. In a stunning upset, the former county commissioner, Eileen Higgins, received about 59% of the vote, defeating the Cuban-born Republican Emilio Gonzalez, who'd been endorsed by Trump. How does this relate to what we're seeing now? Trump reportedly has been extremely affected by these two races this week. One was her upset victory, and another, a smaller race in Georgia, in a Trump region. State legislator, Democrat, won this time around. But what about Miami?
It's massive, and especially in the worldview of Trump and his ties to Florida in particular, but his sense that Florida was now in the bag for Trump, and this tremendous upset, and it wasn't even close, right? And we're talking massive, margin, suggests that perhaps the message, the bellicose message that the Cuban American community, most of the Cuban American community in South Florida.
Bring up Rubio in this, the Secretary of State, and his role and what's happening, Cuban American from Miami.
Yes, this sort of staid Cold War era discourse being brought up again. What it suggests is that it's perhaps run a bit of its course, and the interests of people in Miami, as elsewhere in the country, especially Republican voters, is much more fixated on what are you doing for me here at home? Why are we worrying about interventions abroad? What are you doing for us here at home? And this is a tremendous warning, I think, to the Trump administration, and Trump in particular, that the focus has to shift to domestic interests, especially around the economy, rather than these war games with tremendously high stakes in the Caribbean.
So no more I will vote for Trump song. Someone asked in the chat, would you say people in red states are starting to notice and someone realized that Trump's policies don't serve them? No. I think there were people who didn't vote, or people who have voted for Democrats in the past, or people who took a shot in the dark for Donald Trump, or Republican voters who are just comfortable with Donald Trump that didn't go out and vote at all. But I don't think there is major buyer's remorse. There might be.
All rise.
But I don't think things have gotten as bad as they should for there to be major buyer's remorse. Also, the alternatives aren't necessarily super telegenic, super charismatic, super bold, in the right direction, speak their language. You know what I mean? I think we're still stuck on the boundaries of the culture war, which obviously favors the Republicans quite a bit. Democrats are still playing a game of politics that does not favor them. So no matter how much Donald Trump's policies directly fuck over the Republicans themselves, they can still lean into, they can still very much lean into well, at least we're still dominating. We still got culture war stuff. The alternative is stupid and liberal and silly, That's what it is. All right, now we're going to get to the alleged Charlie Kirk killer. Alleged. Not the state of Israel, by the way, but instead, Tyler Robinson. Appearing in court for the first time ever.
Please be seated. Court is now in session. Counsel, if you could enter your appearances, please.
Wow, that's bad content, dude.
Your Honor, Christopher Ballard, Ryan McBride, Chad Grunander, and Lauren Hunt on behalf of the state.
Good afternoon.
A lot of dead air.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Kathy Nestor, excuse me, Richard Novak, Stacy Visser on behalf of Mr. Robinson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jeff Hunt and David Ryman appearing on behalf of the media interveners that are identified in our motion papers.
Good afternoon.
Michael Judd, Your Honor, Parsons, Bailey, and Latimer, on behalf of another set of media interveners also identified in the briefs.
Good afternoon, and I recognize Mr. Robinson in the courtroom as well. Good afternoon. And for the benefit of the record, calling case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Counsel, as we're moving forward today, I want to give an overview of what we anticipate doing. And it comes down, we're addressing three issues. The first is the October 14th, 2025 audio recording of the closed hearing and the October 24th, 2025 transcript of that hearing. The second is the state's motion to amend or clarify the publicity order, commonly known or referred to as the gag order. And finally, the motion for limited intervention and request for notice of motions to close, seal, or reclassify, and which has been filed by the media organizations and by counsel who are present today. So as we begin, the first part is we'll begin by addressing the October 14th audio recording and the October 24th transcript. This portion of the hearing will be closed so that I may hear from the parties regarding which portions of the recording, the record should remain sealed. All members of the public and the press will be excused, and the hearing will not be broadcast. This is because I need to hear what should or should not be sealed or protected, and it would not benefit to have everyone listen to what should be sealed. And so after I've heard argument, we will invite all parties, or the public and the media, to come back in, and the hearing will resume transmission. We will then take up the motion for limited intervention, followed by the state's motion to amend or clarify the publicity order. These portions, the last two portions, will be open to the public.
I need to know what Candace Owens would make of this court case
matters, I will take a brief
with her
recess
brilliant analysis,
and then return to
and
issue
now that some
my
of the
ruling
aspects
today. We will
of
then
the
stand in recess. So at this point, we'll go
some of the
ahead and
aspects of
excuse
the court
public
case will be
and the
hidden from the
media,
public
and
eye.
it is the
What are
court's
they
order that
hiding?
transmission be terminated temporarily.
Oh shit!
Your Honor, we have one request with respect to the closed hearing. May I be heard on that?
Yes, counsel.
Thank you. Richard Novak for Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson has some immediate family members who are present, his father, his mother, and his brother, and we would ask the court to permit them to remain in the courtroom during the closed portion of the hearing.
To the state.
Yeah, one of the family members is a Candace
My only
Owens
concern with that, Your Honor,
spy.
is that we're going to be talking about court security measures. And I don't know that we'll have to go into a lot of detail about that, but I do have concerns about those issues being discussed in public.
All right. Mr. Novak, do you have authority that supports allowing them to remain in a closed hearing?
No, I think it's subject to the court's discretion to decide who is and is not an appropriate member of the public. I think they have a unique relationship with Mr. Robinson, and they would certainly abide by any orders the court makes concerning.
Oh my God! Do you think it's because they're worried that they're going to leak shit to Candace
disclosure
Owens?
of what is discussed in closed session, but obviously it's up to the court.
Thank you, Mr. Novak. I'm going to rule that they will be excluded as well. It is just given the nature and the sensitivity of it, I believe it is appropriate to treat all parties in the public equally, though I do recognize their relationship with Mr. Robinson. Thank you for your request.
His lawyers
We
say
will
the
go
rules
into
were
the closed
violated
session.
for today. Breaking. Charlie Kirk, alleged
On
assassin
with
Tyler
us.
Robinson's defense
Your
team
thoughts
arguing
and
right now that
reactions
someone
so
inside the
far.
courtroom violated the rules and live
Well, my
streamed
first
Robinson in
reaction is
shackles and
looking
showed
at the courtroom
computers.
and seeing what's happening. Again, talking about Robinson.
Someone in the chat said, no, Candace is irrelevant. You are so wrong. Candace Owens right now is about to go live in 25 minutes after Erica Kirk did a town hall with Barry Weiss and also told Candace Owens to stop attacking her, okay, in the name of Charlie Kirk. Candace Owens currently has 8,255 people waiting in her waiting room. She will have 150,000 live viewers, live concurrent viewers by the time she goes live. She had 180,000 yesterday. There's also an update on the Tim Pool side of the saga. Conservative pundit Tim Pool claims shots fired at his property. Cops can't substantiate the story, according to TMZ. So there is that too.
And the attacks we are seeing in the Caribbean. And we are stating that this clearly breaks with Alfred Nobel's will.
So, Professor Velasco, if you can comment on this, and then talk about this tanker. President Trump boasted it's the largest tanker ever seized.
Yeah, it's hard to...
How are the anti-globalists not flipping their shit right now? 2016 Republicans would be furious. What are you talking about? The anti-globalist position by the Republicans has always been it's fake as fuck. What the fuck? No, they wouldn't be. And the amount of anti-imperialist Americans is shrinking every single day. Okay? That's just rhetoric. I don't understand if the Nobel laureate do not support Trump. Why are they supporting her? I don't know. They don't support Trump on the optics, or they might actually support Trump next year. We don't even know that, first of all. But also, secondly, perhaps they do support Trump, and maybe you'll see next year. Or even if they don't support Trump, it's only on the optics front. They still support the American ambitions.
Parse the Nobel Prize Committee's selection and then how they have proceeded over the last few weeks since the announcement. The history of the Nobel Prize being awarded to politicians and opposition politicians is...
Sorry for spamming, but I don't get why they don't actually use the election fraud allegations as a part of the consent manufacturer, and is just too lazy to explain it to their apathetic base. Yes. I feel like if it was a liberal intervention, if it was a liberal government doing the intervention, they would hammer that over and over and over again. Okay? But because it's a Republican intervention, they don't even feel the need to do so. Remember, different governments and different administrations sell to their base the actions that they're taking, even if the actions that they're taking are identical, the way that they sell it is different. Okay? The way that they sell it is different.
Let's just say not a very storied one. More recently, of course, you have Barack Obama, who had been awarded the prize, and before that, Aung San Suu Kyi, the Burmese politician. And at the time, they said that these were more aspirational awards for hopefully what would come if they, in fact, reached the kind of power that they wanted. But in both of those cases, of course, we did not see peace. We saw, in the case of, unfortunately, of Obama, war, and of Aung San Suu Kyi, an authoritarian turn. So part of the question here is, why would the Nobel Prize Committee take another chance on an opposition politician who has been so vocal in requesting and demanding an armed intervention of her country? Even, of course, as on the other hand, she would say, like, well, we want peace and we want democracy. This is what the Norwegians, the prime minister conversation was like. So that's on the one hand. What is going on with the Norwegians who have in the past tried to broker some kind of negotiation with the Venezuelan government? But in terms, of course, of the oil question, it's a kind of a two-handed approach. You have this seeming carrot of, well, we seek peace and bringing the Norwegians along. But on the other hand, we're seizing ships. We are launching military aircraft, fighter jets, right literally off the coast of Venezuela.
This Nobel Peace Prize winner is crazy, but Maduro's still bad, right? He's a corrupt dictator that has repressed a lot of civil dissent with his leadership. Dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay. What's worse, dude? What's worse? Maduro remaining in power or American bombs falling on Caracas? Or even if it's like literally not American bombs falling on Caracas, but like they somehow get to him, they unseat him, and they put this fucking psycho, this American stooge. And then you'll actually see the real fucking suppression, okay? Then you'll see the actual suppression. Because obviously, regardless of Maduro's popularity waning over the course of the past decade or so, and partially because of the sanctions, partially because of mismanagement of the economy, all this stuff, okay? there will be a lot of fucking discontent in the Venezuelan population against the new leadership and American intervention. How do you think that discontent will be suppressed? How? Waning popularity, 1/4 of the country left, bro. Yes, it's virtually impossible to explain to someone what it looks like when your economy is being directly attacked. It's such a fucking dumb point of view to advance. It's like this is unironically no different than the same argument right now, which is, well, if Maduro cares about the safety of Venezuelans, then he should just like step aside, right? He should just go escape, and Machado should be the leader of Venezuela, the rightful leader of Venezuela. Why? Because the alternative is we'll fucking kill you. That's not a fucking negotiation. You know? That's not a negotiation at all. Do you think having her there may at least improve the economy? I don't know. Did Pinochet improve the Chilean economy? The fuck? What are we doing? These interventions have already happened. Okay? It's not like this is a new and unique thing. It blows my mind because it's not that complicated of a story here.
All in an effort to try to goad the Venezuelan government to a kind of misstep that would then justify some military intervention.
But what do we know about this ship? The U.S. officials, of course, say the ship had been previously linked to the smuggling of Iranian oil. The final destination of the ship was indeed Asia. Can you talk about the claim that the Venezuelan state-owned oil company, PDVSA, is part of a global black market network?
So Venezuela's oil, and PDVSA in particular, has been sanctioned since the first Trump administration. And those, as we call sectoral sanctions, are part of a maximum pressure campaign on the part of the U.S. to try to force the Venezuelan government out of power. They, of course, withstood that pressure. But it does mean that Venezuelan oil and Venezuelan oil interests and assets abroad as well as domestically are under threat. The paradox here is that Venezuela continues to sell oil to the United States. So on the one hand, we have the seizure of a tanker, and then other tankers that are just finding their way to the United States by way of licenses to be sold in the U.S. market. And so, part of this is this larger narrative of Venezuelan narco-terrorism and this axis between Iran and Venezuela and Cuba. But on the other hand, you have the continuation.
I take it back, actually. When I said, then you will see real repression, you won't. Because it'll be relegated to the fucking back pages. No one will talk about it. When the Venezuelan population rises up against the puppet leadership, selling the land off, and doing ruthless things, far worse than even Maduro has done, you will not hear about it at all because American media will not cover it because Venezuela will be commanded by an American puppet. Okay.
Or a donor. Do you support the DSA of New York City?
I'm not a member or a donor to the DSA of New York City.
There is a lot of overlap between the DSA of New York City and the WFP of New York. Do you support the work of the DSA of New York City?
What is this, a fucking McCarthy commission? Like, what is happening? Is the McCarthy trials like, oh, have you, like, there's no reason to be fucking vague here. Just be like, yeah, I used to be a card-carrying DSA member. What of it? He should just be like, yeah, I'm still a card-carrying member of the DSA. Fuck it, in my heart, in my soul. Like, this kind of stuff is so strange because it is creating unnecessary tension around the term democratic socialist, is creating unnecessary tension that literally does not exist as it stands currently, especially in a place like New York. This is in September 10th, 2025. It's just like, it's not a thing. It's not a thing anymore, okay? So I think it makes you look vague and somewhat cowardly when you try to dance around it, especially when you have called yourself a democratic socialist, and especially when you are a part of the DSA. Also, it's fucking Lawler. You could say whatever the fuck you want to Mike Lawler, and you would look good in comparison because it's Mike Lawler that you are talking to. Anyway, let's continue.
There are things they have proposed that I have supported, like raising the minimum wage, and there are things they have proposed that I do not support, like BDS.
Okay. So with respect to BDS, and I'm glad you brought that up.
So this is the reason why I'm like frustrated, because it gives more, obviously, like, if we're being real, although there is no official confirmation, is October 7 is the reason why he left the DSA, most likely. Okay, because the timing of his departure from the DSA was right after October 7, 2023. That hasn't stopped him from aligning with the DSA. That hasn't stopped him from working with DSA-backed candidates, including Zoran Mamdani. But having said that, and he has not rejoined, and his public position as an anti-BDS is silly, because someone like Brad Lander could play a major role in expanding the conversation on stuff like this. He is a prominent Jewish politician, okay, from New York. I mean, or lives in New York for what, like the last decade? I believe he's from Chicago originally. Like, it's just, there is no reason to concede on this stuff, especially at a time like this, when every single inch in the direction of positivity for any kind of fuck Israel sentiment or any kind of initiative like BDS is a good thing. And it might feel like you're taking a bold stance, but the reality of the matter is that bold stance will pay dividends in the same way that it did for Zoran.
The DSA of New York City just adopted.
Could someone define BDS? The BDS is boycott, divestments, and sanctions on the state of Israel, because Israel is an apartheid state that is doing a genocide. Okay, it's demanding boycotts for companies that financially support the Israeli occupation. It's demanding divestment from pension funds and funds like that actually support the Israeli government and the Israeli occupation and the continued apartheid structure. And it is a demand to push for sanctions on the state of Israel, which is an ethno-state that is, once again, an apartheid state doing a genocide. It is the same exact peaceful movement that played a formative role in forcing apartheid South Africa's hand into becoming a social pariah, becoming an international pariah, and basically dissolving the apartheid in South Africa. Okay? Not only is it directly protected under the First Amendment in the United States Constitution, okay? It is literally a First Amendment protected act to make these demands. The Israeli lobby, specifically AIPAC, has written bills in 37 states in the United States of America that has made it illegal to retain a job while simultaneously being an advocate for BDS. This is the most severe First Amendment violation in this country, and yet no one fucking talks about it. Rarely do you ever hear about it, okay? In a state like Texas, for example, if you want to be a public school teacher, you literally have to sign a loyalty pledge to say that you will never support boycotting Israel. You'll never support demanding divestments from Israeli funds. You will never support demanding sanctions from Israel if you want to have a fucking job. It is crazy. It is a direct violation of the First Amendment, and yet it continues in this country. Okay?
Resolution as part of this national convention. They want to expel members who do not comply with their extremist views, and specifically anyone who supports Israel's right to defend themselves. Do you oppose that position in their platform?
Yes.
Okay. Zoran Mamdani, who you support for mayor, is fully endorsed and embraced by the DSA of New York City, and in fact, just the other
Maybe he's not conceding and simply just doesn't want BDS for Israel. No, he doesn't, and that's wrong. That's ridiculous. Okay, that's ridiculous. Oh, Israel's a fascist ethno state that's doing a genocide, but also they should, continue to operate like a normal country is a fucking ridiculous position. Why would Israel ever stop doing the fascist genocidal shit if there are no penalties for it? BDS is the most effective nonviolent movement against the state of Israel. And the very fact that this is a non-starter for so many people in positions of power is mind-boggling. Like, what are you supposed to do? What the fuck are people supposed to say and do? Okay, I guess we can't criticize Israel. We can't protest against Israel. We can't demand sanctions against Israel. What are we supposed to do? It's just illegal to say anything mean about Israel. Okay? You're just not allowed. Israel can do whatever the fuck it wants, and you can't say a damn thing about it. It's the fucking bare minimum.
Today said that Israeli bond investments violate New York City values. Do you agree with your endorsed candidate for mayor that Israeli bond investments violate New York City values?
So I am the fiduciary for New York City's investments, and I make those decisions based on that fiduciary obligation. First, I'll broadly say I don't support BDS, as I said. New York City's pension funds under my watch have over $300 million invested in Israeli companies. We do not have Israeli bonds.
Like flexing this as though it's a positive is so crazy to me. It's so ass. Like, it's so ass.
Because we do not broadly have foreign bonds in other countries in Canada or England or France.
Do you think Israeli bond investments violate New York City values? Do you agree?
Yes, just fucking say yes.
Agree with Zohran Mandami?
My job as controller is not to assess alignment.
It's a pretty straightforward
this
question
is actually
that you as controller should be able to answer.
I have a fiduciary duty to figure out best risk-adjusted
Gentleman's
return.
time is
Okay, so you slightly support that.
Gentleman's time has expired.
I did not think that the...
I just want to know if you condemn the phrase globalized intifada as a call to violence against Jewish people.
I've made very clear on occasions that when I hear that phrase, what's ringing in my ears is violence.
I hate this discourse so much. It's so, this is his worst. This is the weakest shit. You're not evaluating Lander correctly. He's acting out of principle here. He is someone who truly doesn't support BDS himself personally. He's not making political calculations. And with him acting out of principle, there's plenty of good, like supporting Zohran and fighting against Cuomo. But he also has sincerely held beliefs around Israel that we disagree with. I know. That's why I'm making the correct fucking assessment here and saying his beliefs around not supporting BDS is dog shit. Even the fact that he says, like, oh my God, when I hear globalized intifada, I think violence against Jews. Dog shit. It's ridiculous. Okay? And when that chatter says politically, of course, supporting or not supporting BDS is a political calculation. What chatter means is that he's not actually being insincere. Okay? He's not being, like, this is something that he truly believes. He truly thinks BDS is bad. And he is refusing to change his position just because it'll win him favors. And my anger here is I don't like his sincerely held beliefs on this issue. Okay? Yes, it's wrong. What's his reasoning for saying BDS is bad? I don't know. I haven't examined why he defends it, but I suspect it's the same thing Like even an actual anti-Zionist who was Jewish living in Israel, Ofer Kasif, was fearful about BDS. Even Norm Finkelstein initially was like anti-BDS. His position has changed throughout time. And part of that is because a lot of people, a lot of Jewish people think BDS means like, oh, it's just going to target every Jewish business. Okay? And that's the issue. They think legitimately this is like pre-Holocaust Nazi initiatives. It's wrong. Okay? I don't agree with it. It's wrong. It's ridiculous. But it's not an accident that there is a it's not an accident that there are a shit ton of like actual anti-Zionists who are also critical on BDS or were critical on BDS, and I think their positions have moved. Do you see what I mean? But it's not, for the record, it's not because they are like, they have this like sinister secret position where they're like, actually, no, I really do want the genocide to continue. I really do want the apartheid to continue. They can have a sincerely held belief on this issue that's just fucking wrong, okay? Unless you think Ofer Kasif is not like a real anti-Zionist, or unless you think Norm Finkelstein is not a real anti-Zionist, and they personally think like you have to keep helping Israel. Like if you think that that is what it is, well, you're wrong. And Brad Lander is not an anti-Zionist anyway. He's a liberal Zionist.
Against Jews in the Second Intifada and unfortunately here in the United States recently.
So you condemn the phrase?
It's like, it's one of those things. He's like the last true liberal Zionist. Because virtually every liberal Zionist at this point has become like a Kahanist. Okay? Or they've become anti-Zionist. Brad Lander has been like, no, I'm just going to stay this lane. I'm just me and myself and we're staying in this fucking lane for some reason. Like post-October 7, liberal Zionists went in two directions. A lot of liberal Zionists basically were like, actually, you know what? I love Itamar Ben-Gvir. You know? A lot of them went in that direction. Some of them were like, yeah, this shit's fucked. I actually realized like this is totally unacceptable, totally fucked. I'm an anti-Zionist now. Fuck it. YOLO. Brad Lander and Bernie Sanders and some others are the last Japanese soldier still fighting in the Philippines 39 years after World War II ended, okay? For liberal Zionism. They're just in the trenches like, no, no, no. Especially for, then why are you treating him differently than Biden or Kamala? It feels like you're telling us to do lesser evil voting, which is bullshit. Chatter. This is a problem. If you think Brad Lander's position on Israel is identical to Kamala Harris or Biden, you're fucking insane. Like, it's still bad, but like, there's varying degrees of bad. That's why I'm comparing him to Bernie Sanders and not Kamala Harris or Joseph Robinette Biden. It's fucking crazy. You sounded like a disappointed father for a second, because I do feel like that sometimes, because chatters do lean into that same, chatters lean into the same exact like black and white unnuanced thinking when it comes to stuff like this. And that is unironically one of the biggest, that is unironically one of the biggest fucking criticisms that this community gets from the outside. And it frustrates me when I see, people leaning into the outsider community memes. We do not, under any circumstance, have to adopt the cynical framing of our enemies, okay? We are capable of thinking about things with nuance, please.
It's like a yes or no question. You're either for it or against it. It's given what you said, I assume.
I make clear that I think when people use it, they are saying open season against Jews.
So we should do everything we can to get people to stop using that phrase, correct?
I wouldn't want a law against the phrase. I guess what I would say when you say everything we can do, I make clear how I feel about it and what I think when I hear it. Would I want a law saying that it was banned? I would not.
So that you think we should allow that, and you think we should discourage it or condemn it? What do you think we should do on that phrase?
God, I fucking hate Gottheimer so much. Brother, animal, okay? Gottheimer is such a ginormous piece of shit. So is Lawler. And Gottheimer is not even a Republican, okay? It's just so strange that it's so strange to me that Josh Gottheimer, who is a Democrat from New Jersey, and Mike Lawler, who is a Republican from New York, are so invested in this that they are actively daggering Brad Lander, who is already a liberal Zionist himself. Okay? They're actively fucking harassing him here because of his allegiances to Zoran. And they're so invested in this that it's just like, oh yeah, why don't we want to fucking make globalize the Intifada illegal? Lander's already done too much by saying he doesn't like it, but they want him to go even further and make it illegal amount. I know, it's just fucking insane. This is part of the reason why I think Brad Lander should be more aggressive and lean into one side of this argument. Okay?
Just don't want anyone. You won't even condemn the phrase? Even if you say we shouldn't have a law, do you condemn the phrase globalized intifada?
I mean, I've made very clear how I feel.
It's just a
about
yes or no,
that
man.
phrase.
It's not that hard.
But when you say anything we could do, are you saying that you think there should be legislation that would prohibit
this question,
people
sir,
or
I reclaim my
criminalize
time.
people?
This question is, do you condemn the phrase globalized intifada? It's a simple
what you mean by
just fucking say you don't condemn it, man. Jesus
In a major
Christ. Anyway. Globalize the uprising. Yeah, if you say globalize the uprising, all of a sudden it doesn't seem so political, right? God damn it, this Santa fucking busting ass over here is annoying me. Globalize the uprising. You just don't like it because it's an Arabic word and it scares you, okay? That's it. I hate this like entirely cynical bullshit fucking hand-wringing narrative over globalize the intifada. I hate that Zoran also fucking leaned into it. It's so frustrating. It's so annoying. It's so fucked up. And any politician in a position of power should not be conceding to this if they are even remotely progressive, okay? Hassan conceded the chat's framing. No, I'm not conceding the chat's framing. These are my own personal positions. I'm still, having said all of this, I'm still happy about Brad Lander, regardless of all of this that I've just explained to you, because Brad Lander still is infinitely more progressive than Dan fucking Goldman. On the issue of Israel, however, this is his weakest aspect. Okay? And I think he needs to lean into, a consistent position on this that actually follows human rights. Okay. Bro, we're never getting a perfect candidate. I mean, it doesn't matter. This is not even like getting a perfect candidate. I don't give a shit about that. Anyway. Head is looking especially tiny today, my liege. Yeah, because the hoodie that I'm wearing literally has shoulder pads on it. Here is Daniel S. Goldman posing for a smiling photo at an AIPAC event next to a MAGA Republican. I wonder why he hasn't posted about this on his own account. If you want to understand the guy he's going after, this is the guy he's going after. Okay? Why does the word Zionist get auto-modded in this chat? It's not auto-modded in it's not auto-modded in other chats. I wonder why. Perhaps because this chat is the reason why the term Zionist and then whatever you want to add next to it became a censored term on Twitch. So it is for your protection. I didn't get banned for it, no. But they tried to actively get me banned for it. The ADL. It's very fucking annoying. All right. Oh, yeah, there's more on this. Dan Goldman. Also, Dan Goldman didn't endorse Mamdani, voted with 212 Republicans to censure Rashida Tlaib, joined 148 Republicans that expressed disgust at South Africa's ICJ genocide suit, suggested attack killing 100 plus waiting for food was Hamas narrative, didn't trust number of kids killed in Gaza. Absolute fucking weirdo. Absolute psycho, okay? Basically Randy Fine, but knows better than to say all Palestinians are animals or something. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't go that far publicly. So that's who he's unseating. I mean, he is far above and beyond in comparison to him, by my estimates at least. But even then, the position that he occupies, I think would, and the worldview that he claims he has, a humanitarian, a progressive, implies that he should be far, far better on the issue of Israel. Okay? Anyway, let's get to the U.S. Seizing a Venezuelan oil tanker as anti-Maduro campaign escalates. We're going to be talking about that. There's also the accused Charlie Kirk killer. We'll cover that as well. Fox News talking about how he has no remorse. We'll talk about Erica Kirk doing a town hall. The censorship laws that might be kicking in Congress.
U.S. troops seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela a day after U.S. fighter jets flew over the Gulf of Venezuela, the closest the U.S. has come to the country's airspace. Attorney General Pam Bondi released videos showing U.S. forces rappelling from helicopters and pointing weapons at sailors. Bondi claimed the tanker had been used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. President Trump confirmed the raid while speaking with reporters at the White House.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people.
We're interested in the seizure of this tanker. What happens to the oil on this ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You know, you're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where
follow
it was going? Was it going
follow
to
it.
China?
Get a helicopter. Follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to
But we're
Cuba?
gonna. I assume we're gonna keep the oil.
The Venezuelan government denounced the action, calling it blatant theft and an act of international piracy. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro spoke in Caracas Wednesday.
Anyone who wants Venezuelan oil must respect the law, the Constitution, and national sovereignty, and get down to producing, invest, and sell our oil. Venezuela, an oil colony, never again. Neither a colony nor slaves.
He also started singing, "Don't Worry, Be Happy." The U.S. seizure of the oil tanker comes as the Pentagon ramps up its military buildup in the Caribbean ahead of possible strikes on Venezuela. Since September, the U.S. has carried out more than 20 deadly strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific, though they've never offered evidence. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to the right-wing Venezuelan opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado. On Tuesday night, hundreds of protesters marched in Oslo to condemn the selection of Machado, who supported Trump's threats against the Venezuelan government. In October, she dedicated the Peace Prize to President Trump. Machado did not attend the prize ceremony on Wednesday, but later appeared in Oslo waving to supporters from the balcony of her hotel. She spoke at the Norwegian parliament today. CNN reports the United States gave her support to travel to Oslo from...
Fucking sick, man. That's awesome. Seems like she's definitely the good guy in this story. You know? Remember, Ansarallah seizes ships off their coastline to implement a blockade on Israel because of the genocide. They're terrorists. USA steals Venezuelan oil off their coastline to agitate them into war. They're terrorists. Who's the terrorist here? I think Israel and America are acting like terrorists. And there is so much mainstream media support on this. So much. All the way from the Jake Tappers of the world to CBS News. And they're presenting this woman who's literally fucking being like, please bomb the shit out of my country. I want death and destruction in Caracas. I want dead babies in Caracas as like supposedly a good person here.
Venezuela, where she'd been in hiding. She apparently last step flew from Bangor, Maine to Oslo.
We're joined by Alejandro Velasco, associate professor at New York University, where he's a historian of modern Latin America. Velasco is a former executive director of NACLA Report on the Americas.
Someone who says that she does not want that. There's so much that's not said. She does not want that. Is there a State Department villain that you won't dick ride? Is there? Like, me being critical of Maduro doesn't even fucking play a role in this analysis. It's so crazy. There's better opposition leaders in Venezuela, from what I understand, than even Machado. But you have to fucking literally go, no, she's the best one because America chose her as the best one. And the reason why America chose her as the best one is because she literally said Venezuela's struggle is like Israel's struggle. Okay, please, Benjamin Netanyahu, aid and assist in me becoming the puppet leader. Going to business conferences or speaking to the business conferences in Florida, being like, we're going to let foreign capital take over all of the state assets. We're gonna let you literally rape the ground, rape and pillage. Okay, under my watch, as long as you just murder enough fucking people and forcibly take out Maduro. Your background as a potential Venezuelan does not change this calculation at all either, by the way. I don't do any of that fucking standpoint theory bullshit. Oh, you're Venezuelan? So I guess I should be in agreement with you unconditionally about America literally trying to actively invade a foreign nation.
And the author of Barrio Rising, Urban Popular Politics and the Making of Modern Venezuela. He was born and raised in Venezuela. Welcome back to the show, Alejandro. So if you could comment on these latest developments, the U.S. Coming the closest it has to invading Venezuela's airspace, and then also Machado receiving the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, no, for sure. But on the one hand, you have to think of it as an escalation on two fronts. The most apparent front, of course, is the military escalation, even though they're calling it a legal maneuver, more of a high sea stakes kind of operation. In fact, the United States has amassed the greatest number of troops in the 21st century in the Caribbean. And so this absolutely escalates this kind of war of chicken with the Venezuelan government. But it's also, in some ways, an escalation of illegality. The United States has in the past seized Venezuelan assets. It now controls millions of Venezuelan Citgo assets that it is essentially kidnapped for ransom in the United States. The UK has also held Venezuelan gold in the wake of 2019's crisis that saw Juan Guaido become sort of interim president, self-proclaimed. And so that kind of escalation is very significant and worrisome. It's been interesting that the Venezuelan government's reaction has been really disciplined. They've not fallen into the trap of trying to be goaded into some kind of response that would surely bring greater military action on the part of the United States. Now, on the other hand, of course, you have the Maria Corina Machado ceremony. She had said that she would not leave Venezuela until the final battle is won. And so now the question is, will she be able to return, or will she run the fate of many Venezuelan politicians in the opposition who've lived out their promise in exile?
But was she under a travel ban? She'd apparently not seen her own children. Her daughter received the prize in her stead. She had not seen the kids for a year or possibly two. What kind of ban was she under?
So the Venezuelan government had an arrest warrant on her. And so they had alleged that she had violated campaign laws, political actions as well. And so certainly she was under hiding. And of course, her concern was if she was going to be detained, then she might suffer the consequences of torture or other kinds of violations. But of course, her profile is so significant, it's so high profile that it's also somewhat far-fetched to imagine that the Venezuelan government would in fact detain her.
I wasn't in the room when it started moving. Okay, I don't know what he just saw, perhaps a ghost. But I was not in the fucking room when that shit started moving, okay? That's strange.
Then in fact see what she's doing now, which is to leave.
Let me play Corina Machado speaking at the Norwegian Parliament today.
Most insincere motherfuckers out there. Oh, we love liberalism. We love human rights. We are the defender of human rights. Nope. Here's some choice words from Bonzer Berry on Machado. Machado is a bloodthirsty Zionist who called Netanyahu days after winning the Peace Prize to praise him for the genocide in Gaza and starting a war with Iran, claims that Hamas operates in Venezuela. Her party has signed multiple cooperation agreements with Likud since 2020. Recently said the struggle of Venezuela is the struggle of Israel. Plans to move the Venezuelan embassy to Jerusalem. Praises Trump for killing her own people and hopes for escalation. Recently spoke at the far-right Patriots for Europe rally with Geert Wilders and Marine Le Pen. Also has spoken to American business owners saying, if you put me as a puppet leader, if you give me power in Venezuela, I will literally use that power to sell off all of our assets to you for pennies on the dollar.
And we will turn a country into a beacon of hope, an opportunity of democracy. And we will welcome not only the Venezuelans that have been forced to flee, but citizens from all over the world that will find a refuge, as Venezuela used to be decades ago.
On Tuesday night, hundreds of protesters marched in Oslo to condemn the selection of Machado for the Nobel Peace Prize.
You are not covering this correctly from a Norwegian perspective. The fuck do you mean? What do you want me to say? I can only look at the liberal leadership in Europe and how little they give a fuck about the theoretical values that liberalism is supposed to demonstrate around the world. I think you're joking, though.
Because she supported Trump's threats against Venezuela. In October, she dedicated the Peace Prize to Trump. This is Lina Alvarez of the Norwegian Solidarity Committee for Latin America in Oslo.
Estamos aquí en una demostración. We are here at a demonstration organized together with a broad alliance of Norwegian solidarity and peace organizations, where we are highlighting that the Nobel Prize is being used to legitimize military intervention. This year's Nobel Prize winner has not distanced herself from the intervention.